Hello everybody, welcome back to another reading. Today we're taking a look at the case of Debbie Collier, who was 59 when she disappeared on September 10th of 2022. Now Debbie lived with her husband Stephen, and they slept in separate bedrooms because apparently Stephen snored really loudly. So when he got up on that day and noticed when he left for work that her car was still in the driveway, he thought she was still asleep and thought nothing of it. He went to work, and when he came home, he found Debbie's daughter Amanda there, because Amanda had received a Venmo from her mother with a rather large amount of money, $2,385 to be exact. And that came in a message that read, "They are not going to let me go. Love you. There is a key to the house in the blue flower pot by the door." So Amanda was there trying to find her mother, and she couldn't, and both of them, I guess, searched the house or something and found that she had actually only took her debit card and her driver's license with her, and the car, obviously, because that one had disappeared by now. So Stephen reported her missing, and for a while nothing much happened. Amanda tried calling them a few more times, the detectives, to try and figure out if there was anything that they had learned. She even tried to give them some more information about her rental car, anything that she could do to get some information from them as well, or get to talk to the detectives. Eventually, they did trace the car using the SiriusXM radio in the rented Chrysler Pacifica, and they located it 60 miles away from Athens on the side of a road in Clarksville, Georgia. Now, apparently the car was unlocked and nobody was inside. Once the car was located, Debbie's daughter Amanda said that she had no history of mental illness, but that she did have a bad back and she could not have walked far away from the car, so she didn't think that she would have walked on her own, if she wasn't found in the immediate area anyway. When they went and looked, they found a red tote bag and a partially burned blue tarp and remains of a fire. They sent in K9 units and discovered Debbie Collier down an embankment in the woods about half a mile from her vehicle. She was apparently nude, laying on her back, and her remains were apparently burned with what appeared to be charring on the abdomen, so I guess that's where the main fire was. Debbie was grasping the trunk of a small tree with her right hand when she died. They later found some security footage from, I believe, a dollar store of sorts, and they found her buying the blue tarp and the red tote bag and a lighter, among other things, and she seemed perfectly calm and normal at that time. After she left that store, at least the person on the camera, if they left the store, they went into the car and sat there for 10 to 20 minutes, I believe, before driving off. They believe that during that time, which I believe was somewhere after noon, she sent out the Venmo and the message to Amanda. People are kind of confused about what she did or didn't have on her, because apparently some reports report conflicting things, like she did have her phone on her, she didn't have her phone on her, she did have her purse, she didn't have her purse. I believe I also saw somewhere that the Venmo account that was used was actually Stephen's, so that's also something that they find very suspicious. The neighbors were contacted by reporters, and they apparently said that somebody would show up on the weekends and in the evenings, and this was a younger female, and they would be shouting at the house. They believe that this younger female was Amanda. Now, Amanda has been cleared after an extensive investigation. What I found interesting was, why would she have to tell her daughter that the key to the house was in the blue pot by the door? If she's saying goodbye to her daughter, and only her daughter, she has at least one other child, her son, so it's a bit strange that she would send only her daughter a message. But anyway, then wouldn't it be more like, "I love you, I can't deal with this, I'm sorry I have to do this to you," something like that, instead of "there's the key in the pot and here's some money, and by the way, they're not going to leave me alone." It's a bit strange, I think. Another interesting thing to note is that while they were still looking for her, Debbie's sister Shirley, who lives in Alabama, called the police station. And she noted that Debbie had been in an accident a few days prior, which is why she had the rented car in the first place, because her own car was in the shop. And she was driving behind a truck, and a bucket of paint had fallen off the truck, hit her car, and left paint all over it, which I guess made it impossible for her to drive. Now, the driver of that truck said that he didn't want her to report it, because apparently he was out on probation, I believe it was. And one of the stipulations was that he wasn't supposed to be driving a vehicle, which does make that interesting message sound even more interesting, as in "they're not going to leave me alone." I kind of thought maybe that had something to do with that, as in they won't stop hounding me about making a report, or rather not making a report. I don't really see too much about that in the reporting that I'm seeing here. In any case, the police eventually concluded that it was self-inflicted, claiming that the cause of death was the inhalation of superheated gases, thermal injuries, and hydrocodone intoxication. Now, some people speculate that the reason why she did this to herself and maybe made it look like it wasn't self-inflicted was because if it did look like she had done it herself, her life insurance wouldn't pay up. Now, I don't know what the financial situation of the family is, or if she really was in a lot of debt or something. It just doesn't seem like there was a lot of stuff going on in her life either that would actually push her to do this to herself either. So this is one big mysterious case, and that is why I've been asked to look at it using the tarot. We're going to do that starting off with the Smith-Waite deck, which is currently on the table. And for any further questions, we're moving on to the Wise Dog Tarot, which is this one. Now, as per usual, I'm just going to start shuffling the deck. As soon as I have a table full of cards, we're going to stop and take a look. So without much further ado, let's get started. Okay, so for starters, you might hear something bouncing around and buzzing in the background. There appears to be a very interesting fly here that is really interested in my studio lights as well, so you might hear some of that buzzing and making some noise in the background. He's free to bounce around as long as he doesn't sit on the cards. Okay, let's take a look what we've got here. Interestingly enough, we start off with a card that doesn't have a name, because this Smith-Waite deck has about 4 or 5 cards that do not have a name, that aren't really part of the official tarot deck, I guess, in the way of the suits. But let's take a look what we've got here. We have what appears to be a mother and a child walking into a forest. Let's turn it up right for a second. Oh, they're kind of just standing still here. There's a couple of birds looking at them. It kind of looks like a mother trying to guide her child as best as she can. But since we are in reverse, I'm guessing that this guidance is misguidance, or at least they feel like they failed somebody. This may be Debbie herself thinking that she may have failed in raising her children, or one of her children at the very least, and possibly regretting those things. We have here, though, death in reverse, so they're unable to let go of a situation. And then we have the Knight of Swords in reverse as well, so words that are spoken harshly and they may not have been quite truthful. So this seems like being unable to let something go, and also just having a certain words echoing around in your head, possibly words that have been exchanged and in a hasty manner. I'm thinking this kind of looks a bit like the situation that the neighbors were talking about, with a person coming there every evening to argue with them. I'm not sure who exactly was involved in these arguments. They didn't really clarify. I believe the neighbors said to the reporters anyway that they weren't going to go into it any more than that, but that doesn't mean that they didn't talk to the investigators about what was going on. But in any case, I couldn't really figure out what else they knew. So I'm thinking that this is something to do with the relationship between mother and child or children just not being very good, and she seems to have come to a realization about that, but also a realization that she can't really let it go. So maybe they're just kind of stuck in this mindset of, oh my god, this is terrible, what have I done to them, was there some way that I could have done better, how did I fail them, and just not being able to let go and really letting those words hit hard. I'm guessing the arguments really weighed on her a lot. We have next to Chariot, so there is some quick action here. We also have Temperance, so this is something, even though it happened very quickly, was probably thought through well enough, because Temperance does show that her mind was at least clear enough to move quickly without, I guess, making too many harsh decisions. But of course it is based on these first 3 cards, so there is a certain mindset already there, and from that point of view they think that they're making reasonable, well-adjusted decisions, I think. So maybe some type of plan was put in place here. Then we have the Knight of Pentacles working very methodically. We have Justice in reverse and the Five of Cups in reverse. Okay, so we're working very methodically on something, but it's not quite the right thing. Nor are we able to let go of the things that we regret, because the Five of Cups is in reverse. So we're not able to look at the 2 cups that are still left behind us. So once again, that singular focus, that unable to let go, just like the Death card over here, of the problems that they do see, but they are working very methodically on, I guess, what they would consider a solution. But Justice is in reverse, so I guess it's not that big, or at least not that great of a solution. At least not perhaps from an objective point of view. So I think these 3 cards are kind of repeating what's going on in the first line, but it just kind of doubles down. Like, okay, no, this is a problem. I need to fix it. I'm going to fix it. I'm going to do it as best as I can. And this is the only thing that matters right now. Like, that singular focus is once again repeated. 2 of Cups and the Hierophant on the end there. 2 of Cups upright, Hierophant in reverse. So there's some type of bond here that's important. Maybe also just a mindset as well that they subscribe to. Maybe there's certain things that they believe about themselves and believe about themselves in combination with other things. Hierophant is in reverse though, so maybe they've tried to seek out advice of somebody whom they trusted in a certain respect, a certain area of their life that they hold some type of sway over. Maybe they give them some type of advice that they are not willing to follow, or they gave them some type of advice that they may have misinterpreted. It kind of looks like that. Like somebody whom they trust, particularly because of the 2 of Cups, they went and asked them for advice, and maybe that advice was not the right thing, or it was just not followed in the way that it was meant. Like, some people hear exactly what they want to hear, even though that's not quite what's being said. Actually, that happens a lot. You tend to see and hear all the things that are already inside of your mind anyway, but from other people's mouths, which can make things really complicated. But in any case, looks as though he has a single focus here and is taking actions. Now let's see what happens next. So this is probably before the event took place. I'm reminded of her shopping trip. She may have very purposely bought the blue tarp and the red tote bag and the lighter. Whether she actually intended to use them in the way that they were eventually used, don't know, but particularly the lighter makes things very suspicious. Anyway, let's see what happens next. The Lovers again. Okay, so whatever it is that she came up with to do was definitely due to a bond that she had. Maybe she was hoping to help somebody with her actions. Doesn't quite say what her actions are going to be, but we'll see about that in a bit. It could be that she had intended what happened to her to happen to her. Could also be she had other plans. We'll have to look at that in a moment. But in any case, we are once again seeing a confirmation that this is definitely concerning a bond that she felt with somebody, or some type of mindset that she was very fond of. So there's that. Let's see what else we can find. Oh, here's the next one. This is the 8 of Pentacles in reverse. Okay, so we're working very hard, very focused, but it's not the right thing. And this card also always reminds you of the 8 of Wands, because there's so many sticks in the air as well. Of course, the idea being that this dog is so fond of sticks that it's very vigilant about all the sticks that it needs to catch and carry in and all that sort of thing. But 8 of Wands is also a bit of a communication card, kind of shining through in this card. And maybe there's some miscommunication. It could be that she was working very hard on her plan, but also making sure that nobody knew anything about it, which may be the case. Like I said, some people think it may be that she tried to make it look like it wasn't intentional so that the life insurance wasn't going to not pay out, and maybe that's why she was trying to make sure that only she knew about her plans. Kind of looks as though she was at the very least very careful about whatever it is that she was doing without actually sharing anything about it. Okay, we have a whole stack here actually that fell out. Whoop. Let's see, it's quite a big stack. Alright, it went face up, so I guess I'll just go ahead and grab them. We have the 10 of Cups, so we are feeling very good about this. Probably she felt like she was doing a great good like this. Like the 10 in general is also a little bit of like passing something on. 10 of Pentacles in particular is like passing on wealth. 10 of Cups I feel is like almost like passing on some type of positive emotion that may imprint on somebody else, or they're just feeling really good about something. It's like a the positive impression that you want to leave on the next generation. I think we have here the 7 of Cups in reverse, so there's only one thing, there's only one option. They really feel like there's only one option because of course Cups are all about feelings, and 7 of Cups normally is about wishing for something or having things that you would like to become true, and usually there's plenty of options, but in this case there's only one thing that they wish or one thing that they wanted, and they might not really see that coming true. Then Queen of Pentacles. Alright, so Queen of Pentacles is very practical minded, is somebody who wants to have the career and have the kids and have everything, all their ducks in a row and sort it out. So I think we're looking at her character here. Very practical, very methodical. Queen of Cups as well also coming up, so somebody who's also very mature about their feelings. So I'm guessing this was also something that she really wanted. She kind of like settled on this, and her emotions were all in line. Her practical side and her emotional side were in line with this thing that she was planning. We have the 8 of Swords, which is to be expected, particularly because of the first 2 rows that we saw where she had this mindset that she could not let go of. Here we go, 8 of Swords, stuck in a mindset of your own choosing, mind you, because you can't walk out of this mindset. It's not something that is set in stone. It's not something that's probably objectively true. This type of situation where the 8 of Swords comes up is all about you wanting to stay in this mindset. So this is something that she was willfully keeping herself in. 10 of Wands is being tired of carrying a certain burden. I'm thinking that this is a burden that she may have felt like she needed to bear. May not be something that she was planning on putting down anytime soon, but she was tired of it. Kind of like there's only one way out of this, and that's the only option I'm ever going to choose. Like very dramatic in that sense, like only I can solve this problem, and the only way I can do that is by doing something that's really negative for me, but then at the very least then the problem is solved, like that type of thinking. Followed by the 3 of Swords. Alright, so 3 is a crowd here. It could be that maybe she thought that there were too many people here in this situation, and that perhaps somebody checking out would help calm things down. Also looking at the clock, like it's been going on for some time now. The dog is also fairly old in the picture, and there's this heart connection that is standing the test of time. This is almost looking like, okay, I'm going to have to sever this connection, but remember, we've always got this connection somewhere in the ether because the time and everything that we spent together, and therefore nothing is ever really lost. Almost like a very philosophical mindset here with this 3 of Cards and the 10 of Wands in reverse. Let's try to get one more card before we go back to the Smith-Waite deck. So this is only really pointing towards her being very much set on her actions. And then we have the King of Wands in reverse. So now we are taking actions that are very rash, possibly too spontaneous for the King of Wands, because the King of Wands is normally a bit more controlled, although it is the Wands suit, which is usually a very fiery wand. This is a very fiery suit as it is. You can even see a flame on the wand that the dog is holding, and a very hot looking lizard right at its feet. This almost looks like a torch, the way that it only has a flame at the top, but he does seem very content. So once again, we're looking at a mindset of I'm going to do what I think is right. Nobody's going to be able to tell me otherwise because the wands are very stubborn, particularly the king of wands are very stubborn, and we're doing something that's not necessarily correct but probably works out in her mind. So I think this is once again the decision to carry out her plan. Now to the event itself, because I feel like at this point we are basically at the part where she's been to the store, she's bought the things, now she's in the car, and now we come to the Clarksville area where the rental car was eventually parked. Is that something that she actually planned, or what can we learn about that? Was there actually an intervention by somebody else that took place? Did it not quite go as she had planned? Let's see what we can find about that. So there's one card right there. 10 of Swords, so Darkest Before the Dawn, being very melodramatic again. So I'm thinking this is pointing towards, I guess, spending some time thinking about the choices that you've made. Also not wanting to talk yourself out of it. It's almost like a martyr situation that we're seeing here. Then we have... that one was upright at first, so I'm feeling like she was thinking initially that it was a good idea because it was about to fall upright, but then as it fell it turned on its side, so maybe there were some doubts there at the very end. Possibly things, even though she may have carried them out as she had intended, didn't quite go or gave her the results that she had thought she would get. Things might not have packed out exactly how she imagined. I think that might be a better explanation, but here we have 6 of Swords. Alright, we are carrying ourselves to a different location, or letting ourselves being carried to a different location. This may be to tumble down the embankment, possibly, or maybe she ended up going places where she didn't think that she would. Maybe that location in Clarksville wasn't exactly where she was hoping to go. I'm thinking she may have had a different location in mind initially, and then something happened there, and that became a no-go for her. Like maybe there were people there or something like that. She may have gone to different places during her trip. Then you have the Ace of Swords here with a new plan. Yeah, I think that we definitely had to reroute our plans there at the very last minute, but Queen of Wands is very stubborn, so she definitely persisted, followed by the 6 of Cups, which is like a melancholy card, maybe also thinking of the past and possibly using that as inspiration to keep going. So basically fueled by the memories, she continuously followed her plan, as the Queen of Wands is very stubborn. Alright, so what next? Oh, the Sun. Alright, so we have a ray of hope here. Yeah, I think this matches the 6 of Cups in the sense that she's probably thinking about how this is a good decision and possibly choosing to focus only on the positive, possibly the positive that may happen as a result of these actions, even though nobody else really knew what she was thinking at that point. Possibly only really able to view the positive sides. Now, like I said in the introduction, I don't know if they had any type of financial issues that would warrant her wanting to find some type of way to get to her life insurance policy like that, but it kind of seems like she definitely thought that it would help. That is what I'm leaning towards anyway with these cards. Queen of Swords in reverse, so we are possibly lying to ourselves as well. Maybe strengthening the delusion, maybe also, maybe she was thinking, like I said earlier, things may not have gone exactly how she thought they would. Maybe she had the wrong information about certain things, and things aren't quite as she had expected, but the Queen does continue, even though she may be misinformed, because they are very stubborn, very intellectual as well. So I'm thinking that at some point she just kind of switched her feelings off and just went for the intellectual approach of okay, objectively this and this is expected to happen. Okay, that's not quite what's happening. Okay, then now we're going to do XYZ in order to fix that. Something like that. Like we're just continuously adjusting our plan to try and reach the same goal. Oh, there we go. It is the Eight of Cups, so walking away from something, possibly leaving stuff behind. The moon also looks like it's sleeping or possibly just trying to close its eyes. Interesting that the moon is, of course, following the sun over here, so possibly just trying to, like I said, abandon her feelings, her emotions, in favor of whatever she had decided to carry out. Alright, so far this is looking like something that she did herself. Can we get any final cards? Anything that we don't know yet? Oh, haven't heard of yet. Okay, Ace of Cups and one on the floor. So Ace of Cups is something, a new beginning possibly. The dog has like this radiance around its head. It also looks fairly old. Maybe it's just because it's a very light fur that the dog has, but maybe also kind of like overseeing the potential new emotional future that may be caused by these actions, the new initiative being taken. I gotta grab this card, hang on. Card on the floor is the Nine of Swords. Okay, so you are worrying here. Alright, so maybe there is some worry and anxiety popping up during this execution of the action that she had chosen. Like I said, maybe something happened that wasn't quite what she had in mind. I feel like something just popped in my head, actually, something about how things may have continuously gone wrong, almost like warning signs, but you kept ignoring the signs, like the turn back signs, basically, like, oh, you go to a location that you scouted out previously and there's never been anybody there before, but now on the day that you're planning on carrying out this plan, suddenly it's full of people and you have to go somewhere else. Like, that's warning number one. And then you go to another location and the thing that you want to do with your stuff that you brought doesn't work out, like things don't light properly, whatever it is that you had in mind to do, that doesn't work out. Here's warning number two. And then there's some other things that she wanted to do, or maybe a location that she's hoping to go for, she can't quite find it, can't quite reach it, like that type of thing, like continuous warnings perhaps from the environment that maybe her plan wasn't that good. But we are worrying over a prolonged period of time, I want to say. Like with the Ace of Cups, I do feel like even though she was kind of worried about how things were going, she definitely still wanted to keep an eye, or at least kept her focus on this new beginning, new initiative, new emotional state of being, I guess, for other people that would be caused by this. And that probably didn't deter her from all these actions. Let's see, we have a small stack here. Then we have the Four of Swords. All right, we're taking a rest here. Perhaps taking a pause to think about what it is that we're doing. Maybe there was a small moment of doubt there that happened. But we are still unable to let something go. The Tower is here, so maybe this is... there's also fire on this card. And a dog falling. I mean, it is the Tower card, so there's always something falling. But it's kind of like... with this fire combined with the fact that the tower is in reverse, maybe something like bad happened, but it's something that cannot be reversed, and maybe also something that she doesn't want to reverse because it is kind of like part of the plan. But this is just more talk of, okay, not quite what I had in mind. We're still headed in the right direction, quote unquote, but not quite how I had intended. We have here the Nine of Pentacles. Okay, so there is definitely a moment there where she's thinking that everything is sorted out with the resources, things that she may have planned resource-wise are still coming true. We have the Devil here and we have the Empress in reverse. Alright, so the Devil here is I think pointing towards an addiction in that sense, and the Empress in reverse maybe feelings of doubt about their efficiency as a mother, as a caregiver, because I do believe that her daughter had a substance abuse issue, so maybe that's something that came to her mind. And also I heard that she had substances in her system. I mentioned them earlier, but I already forgot the name because it's one of those names I never hear otherwise. So there may be like a combination here as well, like, okay, she's possibly thinking about how she may have failed her children, or at least one of them, because they ended up in this situation where they are abusing something. And in the same vein, she's also thinking, oh my God, I'm actually not a very good mother because look at what I'm doing here. I'm taking all these pills. It's probably not good for me. And maybe that wasn't such a good idea. And maybe they probably won't like the result. Like, I'm pretty sure she knew that her children would not agree with her choices, which is, of course, why earlier it showed that she wasn't planning on sharing her plans. But also just feeling a little bit of guilt about that. Maybe more than a little bit. Any final cards? King of Cups in reverse. Possibly lying to ourselves. Ignoring potential dangers with that eel down there. Could be an electric eel, I don't know. And there's a heron in the background. Initially I thought that was a crane over here, way in the background there, which is something that usually points toward longevity. But in this case it might be like, oh, maybe it wasn't quite what I had in mind, but still the kingly energy. They might be lying to themselves as well. Like the King of Cups in reverse is somebody who's very good at manipulating emotions, and she may have manipulated her own emotions in that sense as well by ignoring all these warning signs. And the crane over there in the background turning out to be a heron might also point towards there being no longevity in this case. But they are looking at the tiny little fish that's jumping up at their nose over here, which is something that reminds me of the Page of Cups, which is always like an emotional surprise. So I think, like, even though she's very deep in her mindset of, oh, this is how it needs to be, there are still little things that surprise her. I'm reminded of the fact that she did actually hold on to a small tree, even though she probably didn't try to get back up. So there's like small automatic things that did concern her that she did act upon physically, but ultimately didn't push it all the way through to get back on her feet and try to make something out of her life again. So basically talking herself through the entire thing and talking herself into not giving up on her plans, I think. So this looks to me, at least if I look at these cards that we pulled today, that she definitely planned something. It seems to have had some financial background. It could also be that she just didn't see any other way out, and that she felt like if she took herself out of the equation that things would calm down. Whether that actually ended up happening, I don't know, because of course there was a lot of trouble for her family when this happened, and the whole investigation, etc., etc. She probably didn't foresee all of that trouble happening. She may have thought that she had set everything up perfectly so that there wouldn't be any of that, and she probably didn't foresee the actual outcome and the way everything went. Possibly she would have done something else if she had known that beforehand. But that is what I'm seeing for Debbie Collier. I hope you found that interesting. Be sure to leave a like and a comment. That really helps the channel along. If you want to help out even more, make sure that you are subscribed. In any case, I hope to see you in another video. Thanks for watching, and bye-bye for now.